Welcome to Autism Knows No Borders, a podcast where people connected to autism inspire change and build community. Together with the Global Autism Project, I'm your host, Rachel Harmon, a professional with over a decade of experience in the field of autism services, outreach, and advocacy. Does your autistic child struggle with regulating themselves? If you'd like to learn how to stay calm in order to help your child in stressful situations, stick around for part 2 of my conversation with autism-mom coach Lisa Candera, where she talks about what it means to be a solid object for your child. Among other things, we discuss techniques for staying calm and grounded when your child is stressed, common struggles and invisible challenges faced by autism parents, how therapists, friends, and extended family members can support autism parents, how to filter out unsolicited parenting advice, and tips for mothers who might be feeling overwhelmed or alone. In this episode, discover what's possible when your calm becomes their anchor. And now, I present you Lisa Candera. So you've talked about what it means to be a solid object for your child. Can you share how that mindset came about?
Sure. So when his anxiety really skyrocketed in those teenage years and we were, at home, COVID pandemic, and he became pretty aggressive and he was really dysregulated a lot of the time, I was reacting to him because I was scared and I was freaking out and I was always trying to fix it. And so I was always, meeting his stress instead of, being a co-regulating presence. And so what I learned from my friend who's a BCBA, I called her up one day. I'm like, I don't know how to do this anymore. He's always dysregulated. I don't know how to help him. And her response was, you need to be the solid object. And I was like, what on earth are you talking about? And she went on to say that your child is in distress and they are looking for someone safe as an anchor to regulate them. And so that's what a solid object would be, like that grounding presence. And what she explained is that when someone is in distress, they are looking for someone to attach to, a solid object for that safety. And so in order for you to be that for him, you need to figure out how to regulate yourself first. And so that was the first time I really moved from outward looking to my son and how to fix his behaviors, fix his anxiety, make everything okay for him, to internally, how am I showing up and how am I impacting this and how can I impact it more positively? Even if I can't make his anxiety go away, I can for sure do things that help him feel safer. And at the very least, I can stop doing the things that are escalating him.
Yeah. Can you give some examples of what it looks like when you're kind of co-escalating the situation?
Sure. So my son would maybe yell and throw down his homework and say, I can't do this. And he would yell and I would jump up like, what's happening? What's going on? Why did you do that? Right? Like you can feel the intensity in my body, in my movements, in my voice, in my face. And he's responding to all of that. And so then he's yelling back at me, I can't do this. Instead of me just taking a beat, being a little bit calmer, giving him a second, responding, hey, I see this is really hard for you. You want to take a break? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like just like a very different presence. And that takes a lot of work for you ahead of time to be able to get there, because it's like the idea of stay calm. Stay calm is not something that you do in the moment that something spins out of control. It's something that you learn to do and to practice when things are okay, so to speak, so that you can bring that to the situation when it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some techniques and strategies that parents can do beforehand to practice staying calm and grounded?
For me and for my moms, the first thing is dropping the idea that your child shouldn't get dysregulated. They shouldn't melt down. It shouldn't be this way. There is a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves because we do so much to help our children regulate and to control their environment that when it happens, our body goes into this fight flight and our brain goes, this is bad. This shouldn't be happening. And that intensifies our stress. So one, it's like that deep acceptance of our children are autistic and they are prone to dysregulation for a variety of reasons. And so it's not that you're like, oh, that's fine. They can just melt down whenever. No. But if you are thinking that that shouldn't be happening or you're mad that it is happening, it makes it really hard to respond from a place of being grounded and calm. The second thing is it's really easy and natural to take your child's behaviors personally, especially when they are aimed at you. Maybe there's a remote coming at your head. Maybe they're kicking and screaming and biting and punching or saying mean things. Of course, you're going to take that personally. That is our gut reaction to do that. However, it really, really interferes with your ability to stay calm in that moment. Because when you're taking it personally, you're making it about what kind of a kid your child is, what kind of a parent you are, how they're treating you. And then what I see with a lot of my clients is like, and at me, you're catastrophizing. If he's like this now, what's he going to be like in 5 years? They're never going to have friends. And so really knowing and understanding ahead of time, when my child does this, this is what I'm thinking and this is what I'm feeling, to bring awareness to that ahead of time so that you can regulate yourself. You can notice, oh, this is where I start to take it personally. So you can decide in that moment or decide ahead of time, hey, when they say all these things, I'm going to remind myself they're just really dysregulated and they don't know what to do. And so just those two things alone are really helpful things that you can do ahead of time to just bring that deeper acceptance to help you stay calm in the moment. And those are really challenging things to do. And so that's why when I think about meltdowns and dysregulation, I think about them way before they even happen. And I like to focus on the things that the parents can control within themselves. And one of the things that you can decide ahead of time after, doing some of that internal work yourself is like, okay, when they do this, I'm going to remind myself, this is not personal. And just that alone can really help you lower the temperature for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really great to regulate yourself before. It's like that saying, you can't fill with an empty cup, right? It's kind of that same idea. You just have to make sure that your needs are met and that you're safe and calm before helping them.
Yeah. And, part of that is like really understanding your triggers because, yes, on one hand, my kid yelling or throwing something that is triggering me. But what is keeping that fire burning is everything I'm telling myself, right? This is bad. They're out of control. I can't handle this. And so when you become more aware of how you are intensifying and your own stress, those are the things that you can start to address.
Mm-hmm. Great. So, what would you say is one of the biggest struggles that moms face when they come to you looking for support?
I think the biggest struggle that they come with is this belief that they need to fix it, right? They need to fix it for their child. They need to make it better. And when you're coming from that, everything feels like a failure. So anytime your child has a meltdown, anytime you get the call from school, if you're thinking that this is your responsibility and you need to fix it, it feels like you're failing all of the time. And so a lot of my clients, because of that, even though they are like boss ladies, like in their, work life and in every other aspect of their life, they really don't trust themselves. They have a lack of confidence in this area because they've sort of set themselves up in this no-win situation of, I need to fix something that isn't mine to fix. And I'm not doing it, or I'm not doing, or what I've done hasn't worked yet. And so there's like this cycle of blame and second guessing that keeps them stuck.
I see. Yeah. So, what do you wish the broader public knew about autism parenting and the challenges that you guys face?
It's invisible. Most of the challenges we face, they're invisible. And the fact that it doesn't look like it, or you don't know, or you would never know, it's not because it's not hard. It's because that parent, that family is working so hard to keep it together that it's not an accident. Like I remember my mom and other people be like, oh, he's doing so well. He's doing well because there is a tremendous amount of effort that is being put behind this. That is not just the therapy. It's not just the IEP meetings. It's the research, the data collection, the fights with the insurance companies, the back and forth with the teacher, the nightly struggles, the morning routines. Like there is so much that's happening that is invisible, that when it looks like it's going well, it's not because it's easy or you've just hit this moment where it's not hard anymore. It's because that family is working their asses off.
Yeah. So, what do you think people around other therapists or family members, what can people in your community do to better support you?
Sure. So I would say this, like, if you're a therapist or an educator or anyone who's coming into the life of an autism parent, anything you say to validate them feels amazing. It really, truly does, because they don't feel like they're doing a good job. They don't think that they know what they're doing. And you giving them that validation is just, it feels tremendous. And so just being able to say, hey, look, I know I'm a therapist and I don't live with this 24/7. And here's what I'm providing to you. But just know you're the expert on your child. So you need to make the determination about what's too much or what's not enough. Like, just having those kinds of conversations, just that awareness to know, like, yes, I am the professional and here are the recommendations. But the way this gets implemented is on the back of these parents who also have all of these other stressors. And on top of that, they feel like they're failing or they don't feel like they're doing enough, whatever that is. If you could just acknowledge that, just bring that human aspect of like, hey, you're doing a lot, you're doing a really great job. Like that in and of itself, like that just gives us so much energy to want to be better, to want to do more, right? Because
Mhm.
it's like, I don't know. It's like, you feel like you're struggling, like, let's say, like in math class, and your teacher comes by, and even though maybe you're just pulling in a C minus, they're like, you were working so hard. I'm so proud of you. That lights you up. That makes you want to keep going.
Yeah. And I think sometimes therapists are unaware of all of the things that are going on, like you're saying, the invisible kinds of challenges. For example, maybe if there's another child in the picture, then mom is also thinking about that one. Or maybe there are stressors at work that she's not even talking about when you come to their house because they're so focused on the child. So I think sometimes therapists might forget that the people that they're working with are people
Yeah.
and that have lives and histories also coming to whatever's at play here. And so just to be more empathic to the whole family dynamic could go a long way.
Even just acknowledging it. When I called my friend when I was in such distress, and she's a BCBA, and she said, you have to be the solid object. The only reason I even listened to her or accepted that and didn't say things like, you have no idea what you're talking about, you don't live this life is, well, first of all, I know her very deeply. I know that she works really hard in this community and is very knowledgeable. But like we already had level set it. She's like, listen, I'm not living this. If this were my kid, I'd probably be falling apart. But here's what I'm going to tell you. Just that alone was such encouragement to me.
Yeah. I think sometimes, from my experience as a BCBA working in people's homes, there was that line of, I didn't want to step over and seem too patronizing
Of course. Yep.
because, I mean, at that time I didn't have kids. And so I didn't know what it was like. And so I didn't want to be telling the mom, oh, great job. Because I felt like it would sound kind of just condescending in a way.
Yeah. I mean, what my friend will say, and because when she was talking to me, I asked her, I'm like, how do you approach parents when you're going into their home? And she said, I sit down and I say, tell me everything. I know nothing. I'm just the BCBA. You're the boss. You know everything about this child. I need to learn from you. And I was like, oh, wow, that is amazing. Because again, you're feeling unsure of yourself. You're letting this stranger in your house. You're afraid that they're judging you. Like there's just so much, right, that's happening in those moments. And so just someone being real with you in any kind of way feels great.
Yeah. And how about from other family members, like extended family? How can they better support the autism mom?
I think one is resisting your urge to normalize whatever you're seeing as normal kid behavior, because these kids are autistic. And that can feel really diminishing. And maybe in some ways it's true. Like, yeah, like all kids do that, but but that can feel really dismissive when you're talking, dealing with an autistic child. So, I mean, I think taking the time to understand from the parent, hey, what should I know about interacting? Or what can I do to make this better or easier? Just be having that openness of asking those kinds of questions instead of like, well, how much are you doing? And why are they still doing this? And aren't they too old for that? Like, that just reeks of judgment. And maybe it's your own curiosity. And honestly, if it is, maybe get it filled somewhere else.
Mm.
Because maybe the parent in that moment does not have the capacity for that. And so I have some friends that I met like later in life, right? Later in my life, but later in Ben's development when Ben was like 13 years old. And I had a friend, she goes, I know zero about autism. Like, what's happening here? And I was like, awesome. Let me tell you. Like, that was great. Like, I don't expect you to know about autism. And I especially don't expect you to know about my child and how their autism impacts them. That is so individualized. And so just having that openness and that curiosity is amazing. And then I think the other thing is like the best things that ever happened to me is like when people will say, and they mean it, tell me what I can do. I want to help, but we are really bad at asking for help, really bad at it. We don't want to impose. Maybe we don't think you really mean it. And so if you do mean it, just do the thing. Maybe it's dropping off the food. Maybe it's showing up and saying, go take a shower, go take a walk, right? Just being able to proactively do some of those things. Like that's been some of the best things that have happened for me. And I've appreciated it so deeply.
Yeah. It's kind of like goes back to this idea of do it all. Like you don't want to ask for help because it show a sign of weakness or like you're not doing enough because why are you asking for help? Because you're not strong enough. It's so toxic.
100%. And then the other thing is like other people seeing your lived reality and that feeling of shame or feeling of exposed over that and feeling protective of your child. And so it really does take a lot to let people in, especially if you're so high functioning and you're making it look so good to the outside world, right? You're like,
yeah.
well, I don't want them to know what it really looks like because it's a lot.
Hey, Rachel here. Do you know anyone else who might benefit from listening to this episode? Maybe an autistic person wanting to grow their community, a parent wanting to support their loved one, or a professional wanting to develop their skills. I encourage you to share this episode if you'd like to help them out. And now, back to the conversation. And have you ever felt a certain way about people pitying you? Do you ever get that?
Yeah, I mean, that for sure can be true. And if I have, I've just filtered it out. And like, look, honestly, sometimes I feel sorry for myself. So like, like, and I think we all do as humans in some way, shape or form. So if people are like, oh my God, I'm so sorry you have to deal with that. I'm like, okay. Like, I mean, I've never had it from people, let's just say that I cared about their opinion. Right.
Okay.
So when I do get it, it's, look, what my mom have said to me, I'm so sorry you're having to deal with this. Like, that's just genuine. Like, I hate to see that you are shouldering this and it's a lot. And that's genuine.
Yeah. Got it.
So on that note, in terms of making decisions ahead of time, like decide ahead of time whose opinion you care about and whose you don't, and take the things what they say and filter that accordingly.
Right. I mean, also as a new mom now, I'm realizing everyone has an opinion and everyone's giving unsolicited advice. And so it's getting better, I think, with people, but especially in the early days, it was just a lot of, and from other parents, because they think they have something to offer and it comes from a good place. But yeah, we had to kind of sit down and be like, all right, it's too much. Like we can't, we have to filter it out. Otherwise you get bogged down with the advice fatigue.
Absolutely.
And from people who really you wouldn't take their advice anyway. So
right. Like I was making a joke about something to my mom and I was like, listen, if I wouldn't take your advice about where to go for breakfast, I'm for sure not taking your advice about what I'm doing with my kid. Right.
Yeah. Okay, Lisa, I'd like to close with one last question.
Mhm.
So, what advice would you give to a mom listening today who feels overwhelmed or alone?
I mean, it sounds so cliche, but I think it's really important to find community or find just that one person, right? But before I even did that, it's just like validating your own feelings. Like, of course, you feel overwhelmed. You're raising a child with a diagnosis that has a lot of uncertainty to it. There's a lot of information out there that is reliable, and there's a lot that's not reliable. And so I was just really just validating, like, of course you do. Every single mom I've ever met who's raising a child with autism feels overwhelmed and you feel lonely. And the other that's the thing is like you could be in a room, a crowded room of people who even quote unquote get it, and you can still feel alone yourself. And so if that's what you're experiencing, is one, validate that for yourself, but also it's like, what are the things that you can do to feel better? And just exploring that. And, a lot of autism moms will come back, well, I don't have time for that. It's like, you know what? The amount of time that you spend feeling lonely and feeling overwhelmed, that actually does take up time. And so, listen, if you're in a place where you're like, that doesn't even feel feasible to me, I would really recommend seeking outside mental health support, therapist, or some trusted counselor, a person who could really talk you through that. A lot of autism parents have PTSD. Maybe you've had trauma in your past that's unresolved, and now you're being re traumatized and you're present as an autism parent. Your child is eloping, they're yelling, they're screaming, you're dealing with meltdowns. That is a lot to take. That is a lot to live with on a day to day basis. And so, if you're feeling overwhelmed and lonely and you don't feel like there's a way out, I would 100% recommend professional help.
Hmm. Great. And how can people connect with your work and learn more about you?
I am on Instagram and Facebook at the Autism Mom Coach. I have a website, theautismmomcoach.com, and you can find me at any of those places. I also have a podcast, The Autism Mom Coach, where I share stories and speak to day-to-day realities of autism parenting with an eye towards providing practical tools and strategies that you can use and implement right away so that you can feel better, so that you can show up feeling calmer and more confident and more in control of your own experience. So if you're interested in any of that, I would encourage you to get on my mailing list. I will be launching a community early next year for autism moms to come to be supported and also to have the practical tools and strategies inside of the membership that they can use for everything from feeling calm during a meltdown to how to make decisions.
Hmm.
Right now, I do have a group membership, but it's only for my current and former one-on-one clients. And so what we do is we meet once a week and we coach and we share and we support one another. And so last night at the end of a call, one of my members logged in and she was a little bit late, but I said, that's totally cool. I'm here to stay on. What's going on? And she said, we're having a really hard time with meltdowns and aggression. And I just popped on because I just needed to hear and see all of you just to feel better, just to have that emotional support. And she said, and I know a lot of you have already gone through this, so just tell me, does it get better? And we were like, the mom, two of the me and a couple of the other moms who have dealt with this with our teenagers were like, it 100% does.
Yeah.
But when it's happening, it's really hard. And
Mm.
so just acknowledging that and also just giving her the yes, it will get easier, even though it does not feel like it right now.
That's really sweet.
Yeah, it was really sweet.
Yeah, we'll put a link to all of that in our show notes so people can follow you.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to Autism Knows No Borders. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with one person who you think will find value in it too. By doing so, you'll be helping our mission to improve access to autism services around the world. Thanks for listening. Take care.